Hello and welcome. This is the first of 3 Journey 2050 webinars put on by the Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation. This first one is an overview of the entire program, and it will go into just the very basics of the connections in social studies and science in the Iowa Core Standards. The next 2 will take a deeper dive into both of those areas. The one on September 23rd will focus on science, and the one on September 30th will have a social studies focus. You can join one or all 3. So if you're joining us today or watching the recording, I encourage you to still join one of those 2 other webinars, depending on what your focus is. I am Cindy Hall I'm the Education Program Manager with the Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation. I listed my contact information here, but for those joining us live, I will also follow up by email and include a PDF, the slides that I'm sharing today, so you don't have to take detailed notes. I'll email those to you. As well as I'll include a reminder about the next 2 upcoming webinars. Hopefully you've heard about the Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation before. We are a statewide organization that provides resources for teachers and others that want to teach students about agriculture. Everything that we do aligns with the Iowa Core Standards. And a lot of what we do focuses on resource development and professional development. So we develop lesson plans for teachers, professional development opportunities, a lending library of things that we will send out to teachers, student publications like Iowa Ag Today and My Family's Farm, and then we also do some outreach. Journey 2050 is one program that we will go into classrooms and do programs on a normal year, not necessarily during the pandemic. We aren't doing near as much, but then we also have local agriculture in the classroom contact. So Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation is a state contact for agriculture in the classroom. Agriculture in the Classroom is a nationwide program. Here in Iowa, for the last 6 years, it's been administered by the Iowa Agriculture Literacy Foundation. But Agriculture in the Classroom has been around much longer than that, and there's local contacts spread across the state that are the people who primarily go into classrooms and do Agriculture in the Classroom programs. If there's not a local coordinator, we go into classrooms as well. And then we also go into classrooms doing this Journey 2050 program that not all of our coordinators have been trained on. If you do not know who your local Agriculture in the Classroom program is, I encourage you to check out our website, and you can find your local coordinator there. So Journey 2050 focuses on this question: how will we sustainably feed nearly 10 billion people by the year 2050? So why 2050? Currently, there's about 7 billion people on Earth today, and it's estimated that by the year 2050, that will increase to about 10 billion. And that's a substantial increase. And it's predicted that we'll need to grow 60 to 70% more food than we currently are today, but utilizing the same amount or less land and other natural resources. And this will cause increased pressure on agricultural yields due to things like weather, pests, and consumer demands. So Journey 2050 is a free educational program on world food sustainability. It focuses on, the target audience is 7th through 12th grade, and it has strong connections to both social studies and science, as well as agriculture programs, and I'm going to go into the Iowa Core connections in just a little bit. But throughout this unique program, students experience the lives of farm families in different countries. And as students play the game, they see the decisions they make and the impact those decisions on these farms have on society, the environment, the economy, and at both a local scale on their farms and in their communities, as well as on a global scale. The entire program takes about 7 hours to complete. There's 7 lessons plus a wrap-up, but we encourage you to be creative. If you don't have 7 hours, of course, that's the ideal, but if you don't have 7 hours, there are ways to provide your students a good experience in less time. You could definitely do it in 7 40 to 45-minute class periods, and you may choose, depending on what you teach, to not do a couple of the lessons or do those lessons at a different time throughout the year. So there's a few different options for doing Journey 2050. There's a teacher-led experience, an e-learning that's student-led, but it's easy for the teacher. They're still in touch with the teacher, but they can do everything at home kind of at their own pace. There's completely recorded videos and such. And then there's a guest speaker option. As I mentioned earlier, we normally can go into classrooms and kind of kick off Journey 2050. Usually we're just there for lesson 1. Sometimes we'll do 2 lessons while we're there, depending on the amount of time that they have, that the school has, and our staff has. But right now we're currently in the fall of 2020, and we're currently not traveling to do programs because we're coming from Polk County where cases are a little bit high, but we could zoom into your classroom, kick it off with you. But after today's webinar and after I show you all the resources that are online, you'll really be set to do it on your own. So you can follow up and have a phone call or a Zoom meeting with me if you'd like, so I can kind of walk you through, or again, we could zoom in and kind of do the first program together. So you might be asking yourself, what does this fit within my curriculum? So in science, here's a few of the topics listed that has connections with natural resources, human impact on the environment, and solutions to limit human impact on the environment, and then also Earth systems. In social studies, it has a connection on economics, geography and land use, science and technology and global issues, and then also the food supply. And this is also a great fit for agricultural classes. It ties on sustainability, plant soil nutrients, water, and technology. And as I mentioned, I think I mentioned before, this is specifically designed for 7th through 12th grade students. So there's 7 lessons in the program, and they each are structured similarly. There's an interest approach, an engagement piece that kind of kicks off the unit and has an engaging, fun, interactive experience for the students. It gets them thinking about the topic. There's approximately a 5-minute video clip. And then there's 10 to 25 minutes of lesson content that you as a teacher would provide, or if you're doing the e-learning version, we have pre-recorded lessons that are taught by a teacher that the students would just watch that entire video. And during the content part, the video clip and the content, they're going to learn about a specific topic that they're going to apply what they learned then in the gameplay. And there's games for levels 1 through 6. And each of those games are, in most of the levels, they're about 15 minutes. Levels 1 is shorter than that because it's just a demo, and also the career lesson, the career game for level 6 is also a little shorter, but levels 2 through 5 are all about 15 minutes. And then there's 5 minutes to wrap up discussion. So you'll see that this takes a little less than an hour, but you could condense it down to a class period as well. So here's how the program's laid out. There's levels 1 through 6 all have games associated with them. Level 1's an introduction. Level 2 focuses on nutrients. Level 3, water. Level 4, economics. Level 5 is land use and geography aspects. And there's 2 different games that you can choose to do both, or just one or the other. And then level 6 is careers. And then level 7, there's not a game for, but it's a lesson on technology. Really cool lesson on technology. And then at the end, there's a summary. In this webinar, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of each of these lessons, show you a few slides that are included in the lessons. But in the next week's webinar, we will spend much more time diving into level 2 nutrients, level 3 water. And then in the last of the series of 3, we will dive deeper into the economics lesson, lesson 4, and geography, land use and world connections in lesson in level 5. So first we're going to start by watching a introduction video. This video is included in lesson 1 of the program.
What will our world be like in the year 2050? 2050, the Earth will be crowded by 2 billion more people. They're all going to need water, homes, jobs, and medicines. Most importantly, how are they all going to be fed? This growing population will eat the equivalent to all of the food grown in the last 500 years put together. That's over 60% more than we grow today. 1 billion tons more cereal and 50% more fresh water every year. This extra food has to be grown on less land, in a way that protects the environment and animals, while making sure there's enough food for generations to come. This is called sustainability, and it can only be achieved by improving its 3 interconnected elements: economy, society, and environment. Let me show you what we mean. Imagine a barrel with parts made equally from these three elements. Well, you can only fill this barrel until its lowest piece. So if the environment is the lowest piece of the barrel, it limits the sustainability. This piece must be improved to make the world's sustainability better. What does economic mean here? It's about earning money, creating jobs and incomes to support the national and local community. Then there are the social needs. People need things like food, education, and medical care to stay healthy. You also need infrastructure like roads to get the food from the farm to your plate. And finally, there are environmental needs. Soil quality needs to be maintained. Habitats need protection. Water must be conserved. We need to protect our atmosphere by keeping our greenhouse gases to a minimum. Our world leaders committed to 17 global goals in the United Nations. Sustainable agriculture is key to creating a stronger 2050 for our people and our planet. Okay, let me introduce you to the ripple effect. The planting of a single seed creates a ripple effect that helps a farmer's family, their community, country, and ultimately the world. The more farmers grow and sell, the more they need to spend on seeds, machinery, and fertilizer to produce even more food and fiber. Income that's spent locally is invested in the local community, providing education, medical care, infrastructure, and protecting the environment. If farmers around the world start a ripple, it could improve global economies and help billions rise from poverty. Different farmers raise different crops and animals according to their local soil, climate, technology, and markets. But they all have one thing in common. They love agriculture. On our journey to the year 2050, you'll hear from farm families around the world who are growing food sustainably. First, meet the Mages. They're a three-generation farming family from central Alberta, Canada. Then we'll fly across the Atlantic to meet the Olus. They own a small farm in Kenya, East Africa. Finally, we'll meet the Singhs, who live in India where multiple generations farm together. These families and agriculture experts will be giving you advice on what we call best management practices, that we can grow more with less, protect the environment, build stronger communities, and feed the 2 billion more people on our planet. Hey, it's a long journey ahead, but even the longest journey starts with a single step forward. So come on, take it now and join us on our journey to 2050.
Okay, so that was a great introduction to the program and to sustainability as a whole. It introduced the sustainability barrel, and this barrel is really a key feature of the entire program and the gameplay. You will see this barrel on all the screens of gameplay, or the students will see it on gameplay, and their goal is to raise all of the pieces, but particularly they need to focus on the lowest part of the barrel because that's the limiting factor. And a community is only as successful as its least developed factor. So they need to continually try to improve the weakest part. And that will improve overall sustainability. It's made up of economic factors, social factors, and environmental factors. So we're going to go ahead and play level 1 now. I'm going to do a demo with you. I will pull it up on my screen. Okay, so I'm using the web-based version of Journey 2050. After I demo it, I'm going to go back to my PowerPoint presentation and I'm going to show you more about, I'm going to talk more about the logistics and the apps and different ways that you can get the program. But I'm using the web-based version. My internet connection is decent and I'm working from home, so it's not as great as a business or a school's internet, but you'll see it works well. Okay, so level 1 is just a demo. The students are it's about a 2-minute demo, and the students are gonna play in just 1 minute. You'll hear some music, and now I'm gonna mute that so you can hear me better. It's just kind of background music. If students are using headphones, it would be fine to play, but when you're playing it individually, or with lots of students, you'll wanna mute it, because otherwise you'll hear kind of around. Okay, so the goal of this is just to introduce you to the game, to the family, so this is the introductory level, and you'll be listening to all those families. And what the interesting part about this is the father in the Ulu family isn't a fraud, it's a person that plant health company that is behind the scenes of the program. Okay, so you're gonna see the sustainability down here. So the social is the lead, so I'm gonna try to make my decisions impact social sustainability, but my economic sustainability is really, I'm gonna wanna make money. Okay, so you're gonna tap on the plot to plant your crop. So, and then this is really, again, just a kind of a tutorial, so it's telling you exactly what to do. But in the rest of the game, so the students can choose which crop they're gonna plant. They can compare the tops of the crop, growing time. There's a timer in the upper right-hand corner. So this is kind of like the season changing. They were running out of time to plant their crop. So I'm going to go, now my crop is starting to grow, and I'm going to need to water it. And so now the water meter pops up, and you can water it. The features in level 1 are pretty simplistic. As they learn about nutrient management and water management in level 2 and 3, we're going to have a lot more options and okay, so now I have an investment opportunity, and that's down here in the corner. I'm going to click on it, and it looks like I might be able to buy a retired neighbor's farmland. So yes, buy that. Get another crop. I'm sorry. So once the time's up, it moves on and it shows you how you did. It shows your barrel again. Actually, although I wanted to increase my profit, because I went kind of slow on that, I actually decreased my economic sustainability because I wasn't able to harvest the profit. Right? Okay, so now you'll want to continue. And throughout the game, you have different things. Okay, and if I would have made a little more money, it would have popped up an option for me to invest. And the students can choose to invest, and then they can even undo their investment and see how it affects their sustainability barrel. Okay, so we're going to go back to the PowerPoint presentation. So it follows along like that for the rest of the program, at least through levels 2, 3, and 4, or all that farming game. But in levels 2, 3, and 4, they actually play the game 3 different times in 3 different countries. And the replication aspect is there so that they can learn what they did on the Kenya farm, learn about the decisions, see what happened to their score by the decisions they made, and then have a chance to improve it by farming again in the second country and then again in the third country. So again, instead of just a one-time wham bam, they get a chance to really kind of hone and practice and think about the decisions that they're making. Okay, so now I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the remaining lessons. So lesson 2 is all about plant health. In each of the levels, they focus on best management practices. And in the plant health lesson, the best management practice it focuses on is the 4 R's, applying nutrients from the right source, the right time, at the right rate, the right amount, and then the right place. How close, where you apply it in the field, and how close to the plant's root zone. So in this lesson, the interest approach piece for this is a cup that you'll have the students, you'll do a demo at the front of the room where you will fill this cup full of water, about half full, and you'll hand one student a straw, and they're going to pretend they're a plant, and they're going to drink water to represent the amount of nutrients that plant, if they were a plant, would be utilizing in the soil. So they start out and drink 2 levels of water after they germinate and they grow and develop leaves, they've used 2 units of water. And then now it's time for them to flower and then produce seed. That takes 2 more units of water. So now it's time to harvest. The farmer harvests the plant, and there's only 1 unit of water, representing a small amount of nutrients left in the soil. Well, the farmer plants another crop without applying more nutrients, and the seeds germinate, and then you instruct the student to drink 2 more units of water. They'll probably give you a funny look, and you'll hear a weird sound coming from that straw as they have depleted all the nutrients, and they're sucking on the water, and all you hear is a gurgling weird sound that happens at the end of a cup when it's empty, because their supply of nutrients is gone from the soil. So that sparks a discussion about what can a farmer do? What do farmers do to prevent that from happening? Well, one, what would happen if a plant's trying to grow with limited nutrients? It's not going to grow as healthy, as strong. It's going to be more susceptible to diseases and insects. So a farmer wants to prevent that. So they're going to apply more nutrients to the soil, to the field, before they plant that second crop. Okay, so in this game, after you've gone through the slides and such, in this level, the best management practices, again, it's more detailed than it was in level 1. Here, this shows a screen where they've had to choose what best management practice they want to do. So whether it's to apply no nutrients, the standard practice, or the best practice. And of course, you're probably thinking, well, gosh, that's a no-brainer. We should always do best practice. Well, when you can, that's best. But look at the price difference. No nutrients is $0. Standard practice is $160, but best practice is $800. So depending on what their sustainability barrel looks like and how much money they have, actually the best choice might be the standard practice. Because if they invest too much, there's a chance, and this is like real life, that if they do not use their money wisely and make decisions wisely, if they purchase too much in one season, they may run low on funds in order to farm the next year. And if they continue to do this, it's going to probably result in them not farming anymore and having to sell the business. Okay, so in level 2, they apply their nutrients by sliding this barrel over the red areas, and this represents a soil map, a field map that farmers would have that after they've done soil tests to show where nutrients are needed in the soil. So they want to put it around all the red, which shows where it's needed more. So lesson 3 is all about water. Starts out with an engagement piece. You have a 5-gallon bucket of water, and you do a demonstration to showcase how much of that water. So in the bucket, or in the picture, it's a big bottle. It represents all of the water on Earth. And you ask the students how much of that is fresh water, so non-salt water, as well as how much of that fresh water is available for us to use. It's in forms that we can access it and use. And that's only 3% of the fresh water. So about 5% of all the water on Earth is fresh water, 3 to 5%. But then only 3% of the fresh water is available water that's available for us to use, to drink, to wash our cars, to shower, and then also for agricultural uses. Okay, so the economics unit, now we switch more towards a social studies focus. The economics lesson looks at ripples effect in the economy and in the world. So what ripples effects does the agriculture have? So what else does agriculture impact? So it talks about jobs and food processing and manufacturing and everything that's related, of all the things that farmers use, and in the production, the processing of the crops, what other impacts that it has. And then it talks about what is a market and what's supply and demand. So they're given several different scenarios where they get to choose where, after they read the scenario, read the question, will the supply go up? Is the supply high or low? And then what's going to happen to that market price? Level 5 focuses on land use and has a geography tie. And it starts off with the engagement piece of asking how much of the Earth's surface is ideal for growing crops. And then we pretend an apple, and it's great to get a real apple and pretend an apple is the Earth. And it'll lead you through a discussion and a demonstration where you cut apart that apple to reveal the answer of how much of the Earth is suitable for growing crops. And that's roughly 3% of the Earth, or 10% of the Earth's land has ideal growing conditions for crops. Lesson 6 is all about careers, agriculture careers. Starts out with an engagement piece where you have a grocery list. You would either divide the students up into small groups where they would each take a grocery item, or you could do this as a whole class. The example I'm going to show you is with milk. They need to brainstorm and come up with and kind of create a web representing all of the different jobs that are needed in order to produce milk or produce cheese. So in cheese, of course, you need the dairy farmer, but the dairy farmer needs a veterinarian, an animal geneticist, an inspector, a bank loan officer, and then the truck driver that transports the milk or the cheese to the manufacturing facility. The truck driver is going to transport it to the processing plant, and there's processing plant workers, engineers, and you'll see how this just creates a web of all different types of careers that are all needed for agriculture. The education, the game piece of this is the students are creating an avatar that represents them, and they answer questions about their skills and abilities and their preferences and what they like, and then it will identify an agriculture career that would be a good fit for them, and then it creates a little avatar character representing that job. Lesson 7 is all about technology and innovation. There's not a game for this part, but there's a couple videos they watch. So there's a TED Talk, A Global Crisis, maybe less than a decade away is the title of it, a very engaging video where they just watched 2.5 minutes of it to start this discussion. And then they watch a Journey 2050 video that's in the same format as that introduction video that you watched before. And there's a video in all of the different levels. And in that video, it addresses the technology and innovations being developed around the world as it relates to agriculture. Then the students would do a small research project where they would choose a type of technology. So here it's autonomous robots, and they would fill out this graphic organizer while learning about it. So they would describe it, they would list the benefits, the limitations, and then find a web resource to see it in action. So either pictures or videos of that technology, and then you would do a share out with the class. Then the last lesson is a summary where you review what you've learned and then also figure out how to put that into action. So you revisit that question, how will we sustainably feed nearly 10 billion people by the year 2050? And have them brainstorm ways that might help do that. And their list we would love that list. We encourage them to make that list as big as they can and think about big things that you're going to need engineers and farmers to carry out, but then also small things that they can do and that could be implemented in their community. And then this lesson really is a project-based learning lesson in which they'll do a project-based learning project in which they identify one thing that they can do or that's something in their community that could be implemented that's going to help sustainability. And so there's a project-based learning workbook that goes with this lesson that they would complete over time or working in small groups. There's also a review Kahoot as part of this lesson, and I encourage you to do the Kahoot even if you aren't going to do the project-based learning experience with the students. It's just a great review of what they learned in all the levels. So in Journey 2050, now you're probably thinking, oh, this is interesting, but how do I get started? There seems like there's a lot of pieces to it. Well, there are, but everything is provided. So each lesson is laid out like you see on the screen here. It gives you step-by-step instructions, sometimes even a script that you would read if you feel like you need it, or just read through it and then ad-lib of how you do that interest approach and engagement piece. It includes a PowerPoint presentation. The slides are already done and ready, and then notes go with those slides on what are the talking points for each slide beyond what's just written on the screen, but some engagement questions to ask the students as you go through those slides. There's links to the videos and each level of the game within this lesson plan too. And just this year, the team behind Journey 2050 also created some e-learning resources. So this is developed so that if you are in a hybrid setting or fully online, you can have students do this independently at home. So here you'll see the Journey 2050 lessons are laid out, but these aren't just the videos, the summary videos. They are it's a video of a teacher teaching the lessons. So everything is there, and it's easy. It makes it easy to do without having the students in the classroom with you as you do Journey 2050. Okay, so now I'm going to exit out and I'm going to show you the website and where to get to all these resources that I talked about. Okay, so this is your journey2050.com and you click on teacher experience. Then you'll either register or sign in. I already signed in, so it popped up. And you'll notice here there's a teacher code. We encourage you to register and get that teacher code. And then when your students play the game, it's going to ask for their teacher code. The teacher code isn't required, but it's good to use because if they put in a teacher code, then it will automatically skip the videos, the introduction video for each level, because they will have already watched that as a class or as part of the video lesson that you might show them if they're doing e-learning. But then it also, if they put in that teacher code, then that will also generate reports for you. Now they're about their scores. It'll show you their scores during the geography level. It will show you some, it will provide you with some answers to some open-ended questions that it asks. And then it will also show you what career is a good fit for them. And again, it has some other open-ended questions that you'll get a printout, a PDF of all of those. Now, there are some limitations to using the teacher code and getting those reports, which may make it not feasible to get the reports. One limitation is each student needs to use the same device each level. So if your students are sharing devices in your classroom, you won't be able to use that teacher code. And they need to be able to use the same device and not log out completely from Journey 2050. They can minimize it, they can go do something else on their computer, but not cancel out of it between at least levels 1 through 4 of the game. And then after they've completed levels 1 through 4, and it could be over the course of 4 days, as long as they haven't shut down their computer and exited out of Journey 2050, then they will be able to, you'll get these teacher reports. But again, I wouldn't worry too much if it doesn't work for you. The teacher reports are kind of nice, but honestly, the Kahoot, I think, is just as good a review and will provide you with an understanding of what they learned during the program. Okay, so after you go to journey2050.com, you'll want to click on the Teacher Experience tab. And then there's 3 options for doing the game. The online experience, which is teacher-led, and that's what we're gonna go through. The field trip, you aren't able to do this unless you're able to get your students to Calgary, Canada. This program was developed in Canada, and that is only available to Canadian students. And there's a guest speaker, so that's where if you would have us come in the classroom to lead part of the program with you, we would click on this one. But we're just going to go through this online experience. So this gives you an overview of how it works, kind of reviewed a lot of the things I talked about. You're going to click, you would click contact us if you want to learn more or request a guest speaker. Then you'll click the begin the program. And then this will pull up options of how you're actually going to play the game, how you're going to get it on the devices for students to play. So there's 3 different browsers that you can choose from. And if you click the icon that is the browser that you're using, then it will pull up the best, most optimized version of the game for that browser. You'll notice that that Microsoft Edge is not listed. The game is not very compatible with Microsoft Edge. So hopefully you can use a different type of either Chrome or Safari if you're using desktop computers, or Safari for Mac. So then if you're using individual devices, if you're using iPads or Android tablets, here it gives you options for doing a download of the app. And again, there's Windows app, Windows-based app, Mac app, an Android, and an iPad app, as well as a Chromebook app that you can download. And then there's a third option, which is to download the file directly to the computer. And this just gives some options that make it a little easier to do a lot of them at once. Okay, then you're going to follow right down this column. I'm not going to click on this one because we already talked about it, and we'll go through it more in the next 2 webinars of the curriculum connections. This step-by-step guide is very useful. It really walks through everything that's needed for all of the levels. But if you just download the lesson plan for each, that lesson plan includes detailed instructions as well as these other links that are there. And that is included for all of the different lessons. Now, this student-led from home, this is the e-learning experience that's going to, like here is what I talked about, the playlist of videos that has the teacher, a recorded teacher delivering the lesson plan. So if you're, again, an online or hybrid model, either now or later the school year, this would be a great program to tie into your online learning curriculum. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull up my PowerPoint again and just do a little bit of wrap up. Oops. Okay, so we went through today Journey 2050, which is the school edition of this program. There's also Farmers 2050, which is the at-home, on your own, just kind of fun aspect. It's fun, but it still has some educational pieces. And in that, students build their own farm, and they don't farm in different countries. They're just building one kind of North American farm, in which they really get to decide what they grow on their farm. There's many more choices than what's in Journey 2050. So this is a fun one. Students usually get hooked when they're in the classroom and they say, oh, how can I play this at home? Or I want my dad to play it and see if I get a better sustainability score than him. I'm not exaggerating. Those are quotes that I've heard from students. Farmers 2050 is really a better fit than Journey 2050 for at home. It's available for Google on Google Play or App Store. It's free, no ads, no in-app purchases. So Journey 2050 and Farmer 2050 are both brought to you by Nutrien, National Ag in the Classroom, National FFA, and then some others listed here. In Iowa, the Iowa Ag Literacy Foundation, which we're the state contact for Iowa Agriculture in the Classroom, we are a contact along with Nutrients for Life. So if you put in a request for a speaker, it would either us or a representative from Nutrients for Life would reach out to you and arrange for a guest speaker. So with that, I will end by asking if you have any questions, please follow up directly by email at info@iowaagliteracy.org. Or if you have questions on the technical aspects of the game, like the teacher reports, something goes wrong as you're playing the game or you get an error code, it's best to contact Journey 2050 directly. They're quick about responding and can handle more of those tech issues and look at things on the internal side where we can't. We promote the program, we can tell you all about them and the curriculum connections, but we're not as much of the inside of the game. So I will leave then with encouraging you to stay connected with the Iowa Ag Literacy Foundation and all of our social media outlets. Our website and our email address are listed there. And I encourage you to join us for the upcoming webinars. The science focus will be on Wednesday, September 23rd at 3:30 p.m. And the social studies focus will be on Wednesday, September 30th at 3:30. So I look forward to seeing you then. Please follow up if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us today.